Live picture tonight of a dark and desolate Las Vegas Strip. Hard to believe, but most of the casinos have shut down. And with those, the jobs of all the people who make that city go. Well, good evening once again. Day 1155 of this Trump administration. 229 days until our presidential election. And two numbers were way up today. Confirmed cases and new claims for unemployment. What this virus has yet to do to people, it is doing to the American economy. Just tonight, Governor Gavin Newsom of California announced a statewide stay-at-home order. Remember, this affects some 40 million Americans. That came just after he warned that upwards of 25 million Californians may contract the virus, a number too large to even begin to process. Confirmed cases in the U.S. are now above 13,000, which the Washington Post now reports is double the number since just Tuesday of this week. The death toll in Italy has now overtaken the death toll in China. The U.S. State Department issued an extraordinary warning today telling Americans to avoid overseas travel. The upcoming June G7 summit at Camp David has been canceled. It will be a video conference, just like every other consequential meeting these days. NBC News has also confirmed a Reuters report that Trump plans to place new restrictions on travel between the U.S. and Mexico. America's healthcare professionals, of course, remain on the front lines of this battle against the outbreak. Tonight, groups representing hospitals, medical professionals are warning they are quickly running short on supplies. NBC News reporting they're now asking Congress for at least $100 billion in financial aid right now. At the White House, Trump, who yesterday described himself as a wartime president, was asked why he hadn't yet put into effect the law allowing him to tell manufacturers to make more medical equipment, for starters.
You enabled, I guess is probably the best way to put it, the Defense Production Act yesterday, but you didn't pull the trigger on it.
No, because we hope we're not going to need that.
What's the rationale for not doing that?
First of all, governors are supposed to be doing a lot of this work, and they are doing a lot of this work. The federal government's not supposed to be out there buying vast amounts of items and then shipping. You know, we're not a shipping clerk.
Trump then appeared to indicate that the administration was caught off guard by the growing need for life-saving supplies.
We're working very hard trying to find. Nobody in their wildest dreams would have ever thought that we need tens of thousands of ventilators. This is something that's very unique to this.
This afternoon in the president's home city of New York, which now has upwards of 1,000 coronavirus cases, Mayor Bill de Blasio blasted the president.
Will only say to the president, I don't understand. And I think there are millions and tens of millions of Americans who don't understand what you are doing right now. You are not using the tools of your office. Through the Defense Production Act, the president can authorize the Department of Health and Human Services to order manufacturers to provide materials and services and to use their private facilities for manufacturing needed items. That has not happened.
On the matter of treatment, Trump also announced he was directing the FDA to push forward with tests for two drugs already used for other illnesses.
Earlier this week, we began the first clinical trial of a vaccine candidate for the virus, and that was launched in record time. We're also pursuing antiviral therapies, a drug called chloroquine, and some people would add to it hydroxychloroquine. We're going to be able to make that drug available by prescription or state remdesivir. And that's a drug used for other purposes. That drug also has been approved or very close to approved in that case by the FDA.
Note that there has been no FDA approval yet for these treatments. And now to those suddenly out of work. The U.S. Department of Labor reported 281,000 new claims for unemployment insurance just last week. The latest Republican aid bill emerging in the Senate is $1 trillion in stimulus. That includes direct cash payments for some Americans. NBC News reporting the White House wants to see a vote on the bill on Monday. Trump ally, South Carolina Republican Lindsey Graham, was asked about the potential for getting the bill to the floor with minimal delay.
Senator, what about the timing? Can you still get this done, like, early next week with all these?
We don't. We're going to get our ass kicked.
So Democrats are having a lot of these. Democrats are having a lot
So
of
that's
these
why I think we'll do it.
Democrats are having
I'll
all
be
these
the
same
first one to kick
discussions.
myself.
And speaking of the Senate, Republican Richard Burr of North Carolina, who famously enjoys his privacy, is squarely in the public eye and public conversation tonight. NPR reporting that Burr, chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, warned a small group of his constituents and donors 3 weeks ago to get ready for the severe economic and societal effects of the coronavirus, according to a recording of his remarks obtained by NPR.
There's one thing that I can tell you about this. It is much more aggressive in its transmission than anything that we have seen in recent history. It's probably more akin to the 1918 pandemic.
Senator Burr's warning came on February 27th, the same day Donald Trump said this.
It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
NPR also reporting in his public comments about the threat of coronavirus, Burr never offered the kind of precise warning that he delivered to that private gathering, even though on February 7th, Burr co-authored an op-ed that laid out the tools the U.S. government had at its disposal to fight this coronavirus. ProPublica also reports tonight that Senator Burr sold up to $1.7 million in stock after reassuring the public about coronavirus preparedness. ProPublica notes the sales were on February 13th, around the same time his committee was receiving daily coronavirus briefings. Tonight, one of Burr's aides tells NBC News the stock sales, quote, were made several weeks before the U.S. and financial markets showed signs of volatility due to the growing coronavirus outbreak. And new reporting tonight that the recently appointed Republican U.S. Senator from Georgia, Kelly Loeffler, dumped millions in stock after attending a senator's only coronavirus briefing. And the following dynamic continues to play out. Trump and his party and his friends in the news media have grappled with the optics of this growing coronavirus outbreak. They have often and pointedly taken great pains to refer to it as the Chinese virus and worse, even though medical experts and the World Health Organization say that's inaccurate, not to mention stigmatizing. Well, it showed up again today in this photograph captured by Washington Post still photographer Jabin Botsford as Trump stepped to the podium for today's White House briefing. The word corona was crossed out and replaced in Sharpie with Chinese.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.